Here's something most men don't realize until it's too late. The silence after rejection isn't random. There's a hidden process happening in her mind, a specific psychological pattern that determines whether she stays gone or comes back. And most men have no idea it's even happening. When a woman pulls away from someone she had real feelings for, she doesn't just forget and move on. Her mind goes through stages. But here's what most men get wrong. They either chase too early and destroy any chance, or they give up completely right when the shift is about to happen. See, there's a very specific point where her psychology changes. A moment where everything she's been telling herself starts to crack. And if you understand what triggers that moment and what kills it, you hold all the cards. This video breaks down the exact process, the hidden signs you can actually observe, and the specific moves that determine the outcome. Because once you see this pattern, you'll never misread silence again. Now, before we go deeper, let me be clear about something. This video isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. It's not about getting revenge or making her suffer. This is about understanding psychology, the real patterns that happen when someone pulls away from feelings they actually had. Because when you understand the mechanism behind the silence, you stop spiraling. You stop overanalyzing every little thing. You get clarity. And here's what most men don't realize. Her silence was never about you not being good enough. It was about her protecting a decision she wasn't completely sure about. That's the foundation of everything we're about to cover. So let's break this down. Here's the problem most men face. When she goes silent after rejection or pulling away, your mind immediately jumps to the worst conclusion. She doesn't care anymore. She's completely over it. She's probably already talking to someone else. And that assumption drives everything you do next, usually in the wrong direction. You either start chasing, sending those just checking in texts, trying to remind her of the good times, hoping she'll suddenly remember why she liked you, or you go the opposite route. You give up completely, convince yourself she was never worth it anyway, and try to move on while secretly hoping she'll notice and come back. But here's what you're missing. When a woman pulls away from someone she actually felt something for, her brain doesn't just shut off those feelings like flipping a switch. The psychology doesn't work that way. She's going through her own internal process, one that has nothing to do with how much she's texting you or how cold she seems on the surface. And the crazy part? The silence isn't proof she's moved on. In most cases, it's proof she hasn't. Because if she truly didn't care, she wouldn't need the distance. She wouldn't need to protect herself. She'd just be indifferent. But she's not indifferent. And that changes everything. So here's exactly what we're going to cover. First, the hidden signs she's actually thinking about you. The behaviors you can observe even during the silence. Second, the 4 psychological stages her mind goes through from the moment she pulls away to the moment her ego collapses. Third, the specific triggers that cause that collapse, what accelerates it and what completely kills it. And fourth, what to do when she finally reaches out, because how you handle that moment determines everything. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening in her mind, why the silence doesn't mean what you think, and how to position yourself strategically instead of emotionally. Let's get into it. Hidden signs she's thinking about you. Let's start with what you can actually observe, because even when she's not reaching out, even when she seems completely moved on, there are patterns in her behavior that reveal what's really happening internally. First sign, social media checking. She's watching your stories, checking your posts, seeing what you're up to. But here's the thing, she's not engaging. No likes, no comments, maybe the occasional view that disappears from your viewer list because she watched it from a second account or checked it without logging in. That kind of monitoring, that's not indifference. Indifference is complete absence. This is the opposite. Second, indirect inquiries through mutual friends. She casually brings you up in conversation. How's he doing? Or is he seeing anyone? Packaged as innocent curiosity. But think about it. If she truly didn't care, why would she be asking? Mutual friends become her intelligence network, giving her updates without having to break her own silence. Third, proximity-seeking behavior. Suddenly, she's at places where you might be, events you both know about, spots you used to go to. Coincidence? Maybe. But when it happens more than once, it's strategy. She wants to see how you react to her presence without having to initiate direct contact. Fourth sign, her response patterns when you do interact. If you run into each other, or there's a legitimate reason to communicate, pay attention. Does she respond eventually, even if it takes time? Does she keep the conversation going with questions, even minimal ones, or does she shut it down completely? If she's engaging at all, even coldly, there's still a thread. Complete indifference looks like one-word answers or total ghosting. Fifth, emotional defensiveness. This one's harder to observe directly, but if you hear through others that she gets defensive when your name comes up or she overjustifies the rejection to friends, that's a sign people don't feel the need to defend decisions they're completely confident about. That defensiveness, it's her arguing with her own doubts. And here's the crucial part about all these signs. They mean she's in the process. She hasn't fully resolved her feelings. She's monitoring, gathering information, protecting herself, but she's not indifferent. And that distinction matters because indifference can't collapse. But protection? Protection eventually cracks under the right pressure. Now, these signs tell you the process is happening, but they don't tell you where she is in that process. For that, you need to understand the 4 stages her mind actually goes through. And that's where it gets really interesting. The 4 stages of her internal process. All right, let's talk about what's actually happening in her mind during the silence. Because it's not static. It's not one continuous feeling of, I'm over it. Her psychology moves through very specific stages, and understanding these stages tells you exactly where she is and what's coming next. Stage 1, justification phase. This happens immediately after she pulls away or rejects you. Her brain goes into rationalization mode. She convinces herself the decision was right. She lists all the reasons in her head. He wasn't right for me. I need to focus on myself. The timing wasn't good. She might even exaggerate small incompatibilities to make the rejection feel more justified. This phase is her ego building a fortress, and in this stage, she genuinely believes she's made the right call. If you try to reach out during this phase, you'll hit a wall she's fortified. Stage 2, internal conflict phase. This stage creeps in gradually. Days or weeks pass, the immediate emotions fade, and that's when the doubts start. A song reminds her of a specific moment with you. She sees something that triggers a memory, or she simply gets distance from the initial decision and starts questioning it. Did I overreact? Was it really that bad? What if I made a mistake? But here's the thing, her ego is still in control. She might feel the doubt, but she won't act on it. Not yet. She's still telling herself the original decision was correct, even as the cracks begin to form. Stage 3, ego cracks. This is where things shift. Something external happens that forces her to confront reality. Maybe she sees you've actually moved on. New pictures, different energy, clear signs you're not waiting around. Maybe enough time has passed that the right decision doesn't feel so right anymore. Maybe she compares other options to you and realizes what she lost. Whatever the trigger, this is when her ego defense starts breaking down. The justifications don't hold as much weight. The doubt becomes louder than the certainty. And this is the dangerous phase for her, because admitting she might have been wrong means admitting her ego led her astray. Stage 4, ego collapse. This is the breaking point. She can't maintain the facade anymore. The justifications have completely fallen apart. The doubt has turned into regret, and the need to reach out overpowers the need to protect her decision. This is when she texts, when she finds an excuse to reconnect, when the silence finally breaks. But here's what you need to understand. This collapse doesn't happen on its own. It requires specific triggers. And more importantly, certain behaviors from you can prevent it entirely. So what are those triggers? That's what we need to cover next. What triggers ego collapse and what kills it? This is where you get your power back, because while you can't control her internal process, you can absolutely influence what triggers it and how fast it moves. Let's break down the specific factors that accelerate ego collapse and the mistakes that prevent it entirely. Trigger 1: complete absence. Your total disappearance from her awareness forces her to confront loss. No texts, no social media engagement, no checking in disguised as being friendly. When you stop providing attention, validation, or emotional availability, she loses her safety net. And that absence creates space for regret. But here's the critical part. This only works if it's genuine detachment, not a strategy she can see through. If you're visibly trying to make her jealous or clearly waiting for her to notice, it backfires. Authentic absence is what creates the trigger. Trigger 2: evidence you've moved on. This one's psychological warfare, but not in a malicious way, in a reality check way. When she sees that you're actually living well without her, thriving, showing up differently in the world, it shatters the narrative she built. Remember in stage 1, she convinced herself you weren't right for her? Well, seeing you become the version of yourself she always wanted, or worse, seeing you offer that version to someone else, makes her question everything. New social content, improved energy, visible happiness. These aren't things you fake, but when they're real, they're devastating to her justification. Trigger 3: loss of availability. She needs to know she doesn't have you as an option anymore. As long as you're in her orbit, responding when she reaches out, available when she needs validation, orbiting her life, there's no urgency. But the moment she realizes the door is actually closed, that you're not waiting in the background, her psychology shifts. Scarcity creates value and unavailability creates panic. Trigger 4: time and perspective. Sometimes it's just time. Weeks turn into months. The emotional charge fades, and in that clarity, she sees what actually mattered. Nostalgia kicks in. She remembers specific moments, conversations, the way you made her feel. And without the heat of the moment clouding her judgment, she reassesses. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It reveals what was actually valuable. Now, what kills the collapse? Chasing. Needing her to know you're hurt, seeking closure or explanations, showing her she still has emotional control over you. Any of that behavior validates her original decision to pull away. It proves she was right, and her ego doesn't collapse when it's being proven right. It strengthens. So the strategy isn't manipulation, it's discipline. You genuinely move forward. You don't perform moving on, you actually do it. And in doing so, you create the exact conditions that force her internal process to resolve. But here's where most men mess up. They finally get this far, they create the conditions, her ego collapses, she reaches out, and then they blow it in how they respond. What to do when she finally reaches out. So her ego has collapsed. She texts you, or she finds a reason to call, or she shows up somewhere she knows you'll be. The silence is broken, and in that moment, everything you've built, all the distance, all the discipline, all the progress, it's all on the line based on how you respond. Here's what you don't do. Don't respond immediately like you've been waiting by the phone. Don't show relief or gratitude that she's back. Don't say, "I'm glad you reached out," or "I've been thinking about you too." Because the moment you show that level of availability and eagerness, you communicate that nothing has changed. You're still the same person she walked away from. And her ego, which just collapsed, will rebuild instantly. Don't bring up the past. Don't ask, Why did you ghost me? Or what made you change your mind? Don't seek explanations or closure on what happened, because doing that hands her control of the frame. It makes her the decider and you the person waiting for her verdict. That's not the dynamic that creates attraction or respect. Here's what you do instead. You respond, but with a delay. Not a calculated game-playing delay, but a genuine, I'm living my life and I'll get back to you when I have space. Delay. A few hours, maybe a day. The delay communicates that you're not sitting around waiting for her. When you do respond, match her energy. Don't exceed it. If she sends a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" you don't write a paragraph, you don't pour your heart out. You respond with the same level of investment she's offering. "I've been good. You?" Simple, calm, not cold, but not eager. You maintain mystery. Don't give her a full update on your life. Don't explain where you've been or what you've been doing. Let her ask. Let her invest in the conversation. If she wants details, she has to work for them. Here's the critical mindset shift. You're not rewarding her for coming back. You're evaluating whether you even want her back. Because here's the truth. Just because her ego collapsed doesn't mean she's suddenly the right person for you. She might be reaching out because she's bored or lonely, or she saw you with someone else and her competitive instinct kicked in. Her coming back doesn't mean she's changed. It just means the psychology worked, so you stay outcome independent. You're open to reconnecting, but you're not needy about it. You're not making it easy. And you're definitely not giving her the validation she's seeking without her actually earning it. That's how you maintain the power you spent all this time building. That's how you ensure that if things do move forward, they move forward from a place of mutual respect, not you chasing and her deciding. But now we need to talk about something nobody else will tell you. And it might be uncomfortable to hear. The truth nobody wants to tell you. Here's what's uncomfortable. Everything I just laid out, the 4 stages, the triggers, the response strategy, it all works. The psychology is real. If you follow this, there's a very high chance her ego will eventually collapse and she'll come back. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. Do you even want her to? Because here's the brutal reality. A woman who pulled away from you, rejected you, made you feel like you weren't enough, she revealed something about how she handles uncertainty and emotion. She chose her ego over connection. She chose protection over vulnerability. And while her ego might collapse later, while she might regret the decision, that doesn't change the fundamental pattern of how she operates. So yes, you can get her back. But should you want to? Or is the real power move recognizing that this entire process, understanding her psychology, maintaining your frame, not chasing, isn't actually about her coming back? It's about you becoming the kind of man who doesn't need her to. The best revenge isn't making her regret losing you. It's becoming someone who genuinely doesn't need revenge because you've moved into a better reality. Someone who understands psychology not to manipulate outcomes, but to protect your own peace. So here's my challenge to you. Stop asking, will she come back? And start asking, do I even want someone back who needed to lose me to realize my value? That shift alone changes everything. Let's talk. Now I want to hear from you. Have you been in this situation? Someone pulled away, went silent, and you didn't know if they were done or just processing. How did you handle it? Did you chase or did you walk away? And looking back, what do you wish you'd known? Drop your experience in the comments. I read every single one. I'm not here just to talk at you. I'm here to understand what you're actually going through. And a lot of times, your stories help other people who are in the exact same situation. If this breakdown helped you see the situation differently, if it gave you clarity, or just made you feel less crazy for analyzing everything, let me know. Hit that like button. And if you know someone stuck in this cycle, overanalyzing silence, wondering if they should reach out, send them this video. Sometimes people need to hear this from someone other than their friends. I'll see you in the next one.